shout out to Basketball Jones, Cujo, and Flaming Mo. Thank you for your support. Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Meteor build with Craterborn, which is going to revolve around also using Fireball. So it's the interaction with Meteor and Fireball. We're going to be using it to have Meteor come down and do great damage with its big projectile, and then we're going to have Meteor, which is going to pierce. It's going to be able to do really good damage. It will also be fired in sequence, so it can hit the same target multiple times, so it's good for single target, and it's also great to go through many mobs if you don't have Meteor, if you don't have mana to spend it. We'll also be doing it to where Craterborn will give you mana back on Fireball use. Fireball will cost 7 mana. You'll get 9 mana every time that you cast it 4 seconds after casting Meteor. This is going to be a much faster paced build. You have to run around, you have to dodge, you have to kite. It's a higher APM. If you do those things and you play safely, you can easily go through the empowered content. This build also does a lot of damage. It's not going to be the highest DPS in the game, but it does do good damage, and there's lots of room for improvement. This doesn't have super OP gear on it. There's no exalted items. It's not even tier 20 gear, and it's going to allow you to improve upon it, cap your resistance, get more health so that you can have more ward, which will increase your survivability. And there's going to be other options and ways to play it. In fact, you can even change around, not wear the uniques, not play as low life, go leech, and get even more damage out of it by getting plus levels to both Meteor and Fireball on the chest. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, but this is the way that I built it. So let's go ahead and get into the interactions, the skills, and just how it all works. For skills, I'm running Elemental Nova, Flame Ward, Teleport, Fireball, and Meteor. For Elemental Nova, I picked this because I wanted Elemental Nova to be specialized, so when I teleport, I'll have 3 of them go off. You don't have to pick this skill, you can do anything else you want. It was just a bit more damage while I'm moving because this is an always moving build, and I want to teleport as much as possible. You can simply trade it out for anything else that you want. You want to do CC, you can do Snap Freeze. If you want to do anything else that you possibly, any other skill you want, you can choose. I did Elemental Nova, and that's why is for the damage on teleport. I have spec'd Elemental Nova with 1 point in Lightning Nova, 5 points in Elemental Expanse for that massive area, and 1 point in Charge Destruction for some more base critical strike chance. Then we built completely into fire. Now, it can be lightning, it can be fire. The lightning will not do as much damage as the fire that goes off, but both of them have a 50% chance every time that you have it go off, and you'll have 3 of them go off per teleport. So there's a 50-50 chance 2 of them will be fire, or 2 of them will be lightning, and the other will be the opposite. We got 1 point in Fire Nova, 7 points in Infernal Prism, so that has 70% elemental penetration. Now this does work for the lightning as well, so the lightning will still do decent damage. It just doesn't benefit from all the fire increased damage that you have. Then we got 1 point in Ash Frenzy and 4 points in Fiery Destruction for that 140% crit multiplier. It will have a 100% crit chance, so it does really good damage. So when you teleport, you can clear on a lot of trash mobs doing that. For Flame Ward, completely defensive. We have this set up, we're running the low life build, so we're going to have it give us more ward per missing life, maximum duration, and then of course we're also going to have it to where when it's active, it's going to have damage that we take converted to mana at a 5-to-1 ratio. So we got 5 points in Star Wars defense, 3 points in desperate offense, 36% of our missing life will be granted as ward. We have about 2,000 life, we'll be missing almost all of it, so you're going to have about 600 to 700 extra ward given to you when you activate it. 5 points in barrier for 40% less hit damage while it's active, 2 points in shrewd shielding for mana efficiency. We don't care about that, but that unlocks the mental aegis, which we do care about. 2 points there, so that 30% of the damage we take while it's active will be taken as mana instead of health at a 5-to-1 ratio. So if you take 300 damage, 30% of that, or just under 100 damage, will then be taken as mana at a 5-to-1 ratio, which means only 20 mana will go missing in a 300 damage hit and only 200 health. So it's really effective. It's a very nice damage reduction type, especially if you can have it to where before you know you're going to take a big hit, you pop Flame Ward. Or for me, I like to just put it on auto cast. It's constantly going off, and I use it more for the ward than anything else, but it's a very nice skill that you can use either way, and if you have really fast actions and you use it when you need it, it'll keep you alive. And then the final 3 points in Dilation for the increased duration and some more mana efficiency. For teleport, we have this set up for decoys. We also have it set up for some defense, and then we have it set up for some added damage, as well as letting off 3 of our elemental novas. So we got 5 points in resonant plasma, so we get 25% fire resist and lightning resist, as well as some stun avoidance. 1 point in both decoy position and unexpected copy will give us 2 mirror images or decoys. 5 points in elemental affinity. For 4 seconds after we teleport, we get 50% more or increased elemental damage. 1 point in elemental dawn, elemental dusk, and elemental midnight will create 3 elemental novas that go off. They can be again fire or elemental. And then 5 points in crystalline passage for 25% cold and 250 armor. So we get 25% of all of our elemental resist for 4 seconds. So long as you just keep teleporting, and the cooldown on this is only, I don't have it in here, but I believe it's right around 4 seconds. You can get 100% uptime of that as long as you're constantly teleporting, and it'll cover your elemental. You'll have capped elemental resistances, as well as some extra stun avoidance and some extra armor. For Fireball, we have Fireball set up to be sequence, some fire penetration, high crit chance, some extra cast speed, reduced mana cost, and 1 point in the lightning, so it looks cool as fuck. Really, that's the only reason that I put a point in there, was just so it would look really cool with some lightning in it. It doesn't do much for the build. You can definitely swap that out. But we got 2 points in Adept for some cast speed, and 3 points in Mana Spear, so that you have 9% more damage. It's a multiplicative 9% damage, and then -3 mana cost. This reduces the cost down to 3. You also have a Prophecy Wand on, which reduces it down to 0. But then we got 3 points in Winged Fire for 36% increased speed and range and 21% more damage, and 1 point in Fire Spray, which is a 6 mana cost. So this brings the mana cost back up to 3. It's normally a mana cost of 3. This -3 puts it at 0. Then your Prophecy Wand would make it -3. You add 6, you're back to a 3 cost. And then we have 4 points in Piercing Heat for a 132% mana cost increase, which puts you at 7. Craterborn on Meteor will give you 9 back every time you cast it, so you're actually getting 2 mana back every time that you do it. So you still get mana back even though it costs 7 mana to cast it, but having it pierce is awesome. It's going to help you clear everything out. We also got 1 point in Embers, so that the projectiles fire in a sequence instead of in a cone. This is also going to allow them to all hit the same target. It does reduce the projectiles that you get by 50%, and your cast speed is slower per projectile. But with 2 points in Dancing Fire, you have a total of 4 projectiles that will go every time that you cast it. So you're getting 4 hits per cast. Then we got 1 point in Orb of Destruction for some base crit chance up, and 1 point in Plasma Ball to add a little bit of lightning damage with some critical strike multiplier. Again, this doesn't do a whole lot for this. You can put this point somewhere else, but a little bit of lightning on the fireballs looks really, really cool. And the final 2 points in Immolated Core for some fire penetration. Again, if you play this as a high life build, you don't use Insanguis and Last Steps to the Living, you can throw those out. You can get +2 or an exalted item, but +2 with tier 5s of Meteor and Fireball and get 2 extra points and put them anywhere that you want in the skill tree. You can increase the range of it, you could get more cast speed, go for the fire penetration. You could redo this if you don't need the base crit chance to get 100% crit with this. You could take the lightning out, not look as cool, add 2 points with a tier 5 affix of Fireball for 4 more points, and that's enough to get you into homing. If you'd like to go into homing, you can also get into the Flame Burst. Flame Burst does decent damage. It doesn't have it in here, but it's roughly about 7,000 to 8,000 damage with a Prophecy Wand on with the right idol setup and having 300 plus mana, but it does good damage. Then we have Meteor. Meteor is going to be set up so that it will be a single projectile coming down, but it's going to activate Craterborn. So you're going to get a lot of damage hit. It's going to be a crit hit. You're going to get the mana back, or 45% of the mana back over the next few seconds. Then with Craterborn, you'll have 90% increased fire damage, and it will activate the 9 mana generated every time that you cast Fireball for the next 4 seconds, which is huge. It allows you to cast Fireball without reducing your mana. It also lets you get in a big hit with Meteor every few seconds. So if you get a big crowd, you just hit them with a Meteor. You have single targets, you hit them with Fireball, or you do both. With it, we got 1 point in Force of Impact, 3 points in Aftermath. This allows you to get 45% of the mana cost recovered over the next 3 seconds. If you cast Meteor again in those 3 seconds, you lose out on what was left for you to gain. 3 points in Extinction. This gives it a 6% higher base crit chance with a 30% chance for a large meteor, which will give you a 100% increased area, which looks sick. It's really nice. 1 point in Astral Cataclysm for some more crit multiplier, 2 points in Crushing Force for 14% more damage, 28% more damage if the enemy is full health that you're hitting. So it's always nice to throw a meteor in front of you and then come in with Fireball hot and heavy. 2 points in Infernal Descent for more damage. This reduces the cast speed. 1 point in Apocalyptic Impact for 30% increased area. Then we got 3 points in Craterborn. This gives you 90% increased fire damage, as well as 20% increased cast speed. It lasts for 4 seconds. Every time that you cast Meteor, casting it again will not stack the effect, but will refresh the duration. 3 points in the Cycle of Fire gives you the 9 mana gained, and then 1 point in Celestial Celerity gives you cast speed, fall speed, and it increases the mana cost. The mana cost on here says 60, but it actually comes out at like 69-ish is the actual mana cost. It's a little messed up in here with how it's calculated inside of the build planner, but roughly the 69 mana cost means it's going to get 69% increased damage thanks to the passive mastery bonus you get as a sorcerer, so it does really good damage. For passives, I got 26 points in the mage base class, with 8 of those points in scholar for that health and mana, 8 points in arcanist for that intelligence, fire resist, lightning resist, and then 10 points in knowledge of destruction. Since we are doing a 100% crit build, obviously getting 30% more crit multiplier is going to be huge for the build, as it's going to be even more damage for you. 0 points in the spellblade and 87 points in the sorcerer, with 8 points in calculated destruction, 8 points in brainstorm, 8 points in mana shell, 10 points in wisdom, 10 points in lost knowledge. Every time you cast meteor, you'll gain 70 mana from that. 8 points in Pyromancer for more fire damage or increased fire damage, as well as some ignite chance. You have quite a bit of ignite chance in this, even though we're not building for it. You'll get some good damage out of it. 5 points in Afterglow. This gives you 25% increased spell damage, but since every time you cast Meteor, it'll actually go up to 50% since it costs more than 40 mana, and that will last 4 seconds. With 8 points in Crackling Precision, you have another 80% critical strike chance. 5 points in Arcane Obliteration gives you even more spell critical multiplier or critical multiplier damage. That 50% is huge. That is a nice amount to have, especially just through passives. And of course, everything we do is spell, so it'll apply to everything. 7 points in Elemental Ascendancy gives you elemental resist, elemental damage, and increased stun chance with your elemental spells, which will be both Fireball, Elemental Nova, and your Meteor. 5 points in Spellslinger gives you some more adaptive spell damage, which is basically base added damage for you, as well as some increased cast speed. And 5 points in Archmage gives you 5 more adaptive spell damage, which is tripled because we will have more than 200 mana, which allows you to have 15 more adaptive spell damage, which is a nice buff for just 5 passive points. Then for our actual idols, crafted gear, uniques, and blessings. For the idols, we are running increased fire damage, doubled if you have more than 300 maximum mana, so it's going to be important to get that 300 mana so that you get double the fire damage. I don't care what you get for the prefix, you can get whatever you want. Mine, some of them had ward gain when you cast Flame Ward. I believe I also had something else. Nope, that was it on the ones that I had. But we ran the 1x3s, and the reason we ran the 1x3s, you can also get it on a 1x4 horizontal. I ran those so that we could fit in some health idols. So you also want to get some health idols that have increased health, flat health. We threw in 2 of those. Definitely increases your survivability. You can get up to 10% more health along with 60 flat, which is a huge amount, especially while you can still take advantage of getting that extra fire damage. If you have some max rules here, you're talking a total of 68% with 300 plus mana times 4, which puts you at somewhere just under 270% or 272% fire damage, which is a lot of fire damage to be able to get just from idols. We are wearing 2 uniques. They are the low life uniques. We have Insanguius and we have Last Steps of the Living. These 2 are going to make it to where your life is reduced, but you get a bunch of ward. You probably, if you've been watching my build guides for a while, know about the low life, as it's very popular in Last Epoch. And then we also have a bunch of crafted items, which I'm just going to hover on. This build planner with all of this will be in the written guide. The written guide will have a link to it in the description below. For blessings, again, just going to hover over these. Some nice ones you get is increased health, increased mana. That's going to help you hit the 300. The extra health is going to increase your survivability. You can get critical strike avoidance. And then we went with chance to chill on hit and chance to shred fire resistance on hit, which means you're going to ramp up damage over time, especially against bosses, as you shred that fire resistance. For the character sheet, as you can see, we are almost capped. We will actually be capped on all of our elemental and physical. Every time that we teleport, that'll stay capped. We only have a 4-second cooldown. It stays buffed for 4 seconds. So as long as you have that constantly going off, you'll keep all of those capped. We are a little low on poison, necrotic, and void. Trying to work those in, you'll lose a bit of HP. I wanted the HP instead, but getting those, if you get some exalted items, get some tier 5s of them, you can definitely bring them up. We do have quite a bit of armor. Again, that also goes up. You get that 250 flat for a teleport, so you have about 20% damage reduction. This is a level 100 character, so that's as low as it's going to drop. From physical, 10% of all the other types. You get some stun avoidance in there. You do have a lot more stun avoidance just naturally because as a ward build, this is going to have a high amount of maximum health in the formula. And then we have about 300% ward retention thanks to that 72 int that we have for damage. Almost 300% critical strike multiplier, 225 for spell damage. That'll go up by another 25 when we use an expensive skill like Meteor. There we go, 250. Once we get Craterborn, you'll see we also jump up. Our fire damage jumps up 550 to 600. That depends if we both teleport and use Meteor. Boom, there you go, 607. That's the max you're going to get there. And then for the skill rotation and how I play the build, you don't have to have elemental on the skill tree. I threw snap freeze in. Nice to have a CC if you know a boss is about to one-shot you and your teleport's on cooldown. Boom, freeze them, cancel that crap out. I like to put flame ward on autocast. We'll go ahead and throw that. You can throw a snap freeze down for some CC, and then for the interaction here, you throw down your meteor, and then boom, you fire off some meteors. You'll see they're piercing. We're doing good damage with them, and you'll see your mana stays full, because you're getting that 2 mana back for casting it, and then meteors obviously giving you 45% refund on top of your natural mana regeneration that you have because nothing here is being channeled. You can stay pretty full on things as long as you don't do what I just did and spam 4 meteors in a row like that, because then you'll run out of mana. It's a waste to cast more than 1 meteor per 3 seconds. You want that 45% mana back, so make sure to space it out by 3 seconds a piece and get off a couple of fireballs in there. Overall, this build, love it. It's a very interactive build. I like the fact that it's a high actions per minute. You're constantly running around, you're trying to group up enemies, hit them with a meteor, blow them up. It's going to be awesome when the animations get better and things explode and body parts go flying, because the skill is really nice with that. I love the fireball. The reason I have the 1 point, you've probably noticed, when you fire it, you got that little bit of lightning in there. Yeah, even though we're not doing much lightning damage, it looks fucking sick. So that's the reason that's in there. Again, you can change that point out like we talked about in the skills. But that's it for this build. I hope it was easy to follow. I hope you guys enjoy it. It is definitely one of my favorite builds to play with just how interactive it is. And as always, stay safe, travelers.